The REDEEM protocol is active. The REDEEMR Pro protocol allows for real-time visualization of the data matrix directly through the Smart Paper interface, streamlining analysis.
Listen via REDEEMR Nano protocol. Contribution-linked welfare architecture for autonomous social fabric stabilization. MXTM aka Pirate 1 or VJ Tsunami X. June 20th, 2026. Technical Doctrine. Sovereign Distribution Channel June 2026 Riviera Maya Node. The failure of welfare systems is not a resource failure. It is a mechanism design failure. The systems are not broken. They are designed around the wrong incentive architecture, and they produce exactly the outcomes their architecture predicts. This is not a social program. It is a mechanism design specification with a deployment protocol attached. The mechanism design problem that existing welfare systems never solved. In 2007, Leonid Hurwicz, Eric Maskine, and Roger Myerson received the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for foundational work on mechanism design theory, the discipline of engineering systems in which self-interested actors, pursuing their own rational objectives, produce socially optimal outcomes as an emergent result of the system's structure rather than as a consequence of their moral intentions. Hurwicz's core insight was the incentive compatibility condition. A mechanism is incentive compatible when participants have no rational reason to behave contrary to the system's social objective. A tax system is incentive incompatible when evasion is cheaper than compliance. A welfare system is incentive incompatible when gaming the eligibility criteria is easier than meeting them honestly. An assistance program is incentive incompatible when receiving assistance reduces the recipient's incentive to generate the contributions that would justify their continued enrollment. Every major welfare architecture of the past century has failed the incentive compatibility test in at least one critical dimension. The result is not administrative inefficiency. It is structural. Systems that reward passivity over contribution, penalize exit through cliff effects, require surveillance for eligibility verification, and extract personal data as the price of access are not malfunctioning. They are functioning as their incentive architecture requires. The REDEEMR Nano protocol is the mechanism design answer to this structural failure, not a reform of existing architecture, a replacement of the incentive structure itself. The architecture, core mechanism, contribution-linked resource access. The protocol's fundamental innovation is the replacement of need-based eligibility determination, which requires intrusive surveillance and creates passivity incentives, with contribution-linked resource accumulation. Every verified participation event generates a contribution credit, CC, a non-transferable, time-decaying, pseudonymous token recorded on a distributed ledger. Participation events are defined by the protocol's governance parameters, but the foundational category is social network expansion. Verified introduction of a new participant who completes onboarding and executes at least one protocol interaction. This is not a referral bonus in the commercial sense. It is the operationalization of a specific finding from network economics. Network value, in Metcalfe's formulation, scales as the square of connected nodes. In prosocial networks, where the value generated is social capital, not commercial throughput, the marginal value of each new connected member is distributed across the entire existing membership. The CC awarded for network expansion is the mechanism for internalizing this externality. The participant who expands the network captures a portion of the value their expansion creates for existing members. This is not a subsidy. It is a dividend on a verified contribution to collective value. Credits accumulate and are redeemable against participating resource providers, initially food and nutrition services, the highest urgency basic need category, at the redemption rate set by the governance protocol. The system does not give anything away. It compensates verified contribution with access to resources whose value the contributor helped generate. Means architecture, privacy-preserving eligibility without surveillance. The central unsolved problem in targeted welfare design is what economists call the targeting universalism trade-off. Targeted systems, which restrict benefits to those below a defined income or wealth threshold, are more resource efficient per beneficiary in theory but impose three documented costs. Administrative costs. The World Bank's extensive analysis of proxy means testing, PMT programs across 40-plus developing countries demonstrates that accurate income verification costs between 8% and 22% of program value in administrative overhead. The UK's universal credit implementation cost overruns, documented by the National Audit Office at £1.7 billion beyond initial projection, were driven primarily by eligibility verification infrastructure. Dignity costs. Princeton economist Alan Kruger and colleagues documented the psychological cost of means testing processes, the experience of surveillance, interrogation, and conditional access, as a significant and measurable deterrent to uptake among the most eligible participants. Programs that should reach 100% of their target population routinely achieve 60 to 75% coverage because the access process itself is an exclusion mechanism. Gaming costs. Any system with defined eligibility thresholds creates incentives to position just below the threshold. The behavioral economics literature on benefit cliffs, points at which earning more income produces a net welfare loss due to benefit withdrawal, documents how eligibility thresholds distort labor market participation in ways that offset significant fractions of the program's social benefit. The REDEEMR Nano protocol resolves all three costs through zero-knowledge means verification. a cryptographic architecture that allows a participant to prove they satisfy eligibility criteria without revealing the underlying financial data that proves it. The technical foundation is zk-SNARK proof systems, Groth16 and Plunk protocols, currently in production at zk-Sync, Polygon zk-EVM, and the Ethereum Foundation's Privacy Research Division, extended to welfare eligibility through verifiable credential integration with financial data sources. The participant's wallet generates a cryptographic proof, derived from bank account data, transaction history, and asset registry information accessed through open banking APIs under the participant's explicit consent and control. That attests to the statement, this participant's discretionary consumption falls below the protocol-defined threshold, without transmitting, storing, or revealing the underlying financial data to any party. The protocol verifies the proof. It never sees the data. This is not an incremental privacy improvement. It is an architectural inversion. The system determines eligibility without knowing anything about the participant except that they qualify. The administrative cost drops to near zero. Cryptographic verification is computationally cheap. The dignity cost drops to near zero, no interrogation, no caseworker, no documentation submission. The gaming cost drops substantially. There is no threshold positioning incentive when the threshold is verified cryptographically against actual financial behavior rather than self-reported income. GiveDirectly's AI-based poverty targeting, which uses satellite imagery, mobile data patterns, and machine learning to identify eligible recipients with 90% plus accuracy without requiring self-reported financial data, provides the operational proof of concept. The ZK architecture extends this approach to self-sovereign verification. The participant controls the proof generation, the protocol verifies the output, no intermediary holds the data. Sybil resistance, anti-gaming architecture. Every decentralized benefit system faces the Sybil attack problem. A single actor creating multiple pseudonymous identities to claim multiple benefit streams. Named for Flora Rita Schreiber's 1973 case study of multiple personality disorder. The Sybil attack is the fundamental adversarial threat to any system that provides per-person benefits without centralized identity verification. The REDEEMR Nano protocol addresses Sybil resistance through a layered architecture drawing from three operational models. Proof of personhood, BrightID's social graph verification model, in which existing verified participants vouch for new participants through a web of trust that is statistically resistant to coordinated fake identity creation, provides the baseline identity layer. The mathematical properties of social graph Sybil resistance were formally analyzed by researchers at the International Computer Science Institute. In a sufficiently dense honest network, the computational cost of creating a convincing fake identity cluster that passes graph analysis exceeds the benefit value of the attack. Behavioral fingerprinting, transaction timing analysis, interaction pattern modeling, and device attestation using privacy-preserving on-device ML, the same federated learning architecture that Google deploys for on-device fraud detection in Google Pay, flags behavioral patterns inconsistent with genuine individual participation. Accounts that behave like bots are flagged for human validation network review without exposing the underlying data used to generate the flag. Contribution verification. The network expansion credit, the core contribution mechanism, is only generated when the referred participant completes a minimum verified interaction sequence over a minimum time period. Referral farming, in which an attacker creates fake accounts and refers them to collect credits, is economically unviable when the referred account must generate genuine participation evidence over time before the referral credit is released. The time lock mechanism makes Sybil attacks expensive in time and compute relative to the credit value generated. These three layers, social graph trust, behavioral analysis, and time-locked contribution verification, do not produce perfect Sybil resistance. No decentralized system does. They produce sufficient Sybil resistance. Attack costs that exceed attack benefits for all but the most resource-intensive adversaries, whose resource investment is itself a detection signal. Autonomous protocol governance, the self-owning architecture. The original articulation of this protocol included the phrase, "it owns itself." This is not a metaphor. It is a precise technical claim, and one that is now operationally achievable through DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization Governance Architecture. The Compound Protocol, MakerDAO, and Uniswap have each demonstrated that protocol governance, setting parameters, upgrading code, allocating treasury resources, can be executed through on-chain voting mechanisms in which no single entity controls outcomes and all governance actions are transparent, auditable, and automatically enforced by smart contract execution. The REDEEMR Nano protocol's governance architecture extends this model specifically for welfare system parameterization. Eligibility threshold governance. The means testing threshold, the consumption level below which the ZK proof generates a valid eligibility credential, is set by protocol governance vote, not by any administrative authority. Threshold adjustment proposals require supermajority approval from verified participants, weighted by contribution history rather than token holdings. This is the direct operationalization of Ostrom's collective choice arrangement principle. The people subject to the rules participate in modifying them. Resource provider accreditation. Participating food and resource providers are accredited through a community verification process modeled on the TCR, Token Curated Registry Mechanism design, in which participants stake value to vouch for accreditation candidates, creating economic skin in the game for accurate curation. Contribution category governance. What counts as a protocol contribution event, and what credit weight it carries, is governed by the participant community, not by a product team. Protocol contributions evolve as community needs evolve. Treasury allocation. The protocol's operating treasury, funded through a protocol fee on resource provider transactions, is allocated through retroactive public goods funding mechanisms. Optimism's retro-PGF model contributions are rewarded after their impact is observable, not on the basis of predicted value. This eliminates grant capture, political allocation, and funding for activity that produces no verified outcome. The World Food Programme's Building Blocks program, which has distributed food assistance to over 100,000 Syrian refugees in Jordan through an Ethereum-based voucher system since 2017, eliminating 98% of transaction fees versus the prior Hawala-based distribution model, demonstrates that blockchain-based resource distribution at humanitarian scale is operationally proven, not experimental. The REDEEMR Nano protocol extends that architecture from centrally administered assistance to autonomously governed contribution-linked welfare. Network expansion economics, why the referral is the core mechanism. The contribution-linked network expansion incentive is not a marketing referral program. It is the mechanism through which the protocol's resource base expands proportionally to its participant base, a self-funding growth architecture grounded in network economics. Andrew Chen's research on viral growth coefficients and David Skock's SAS growth modeling both establish that sustainable network growth requires a viral coefficient above 1.0. Each existing participant must, on average, produce more than one new participant through their network. Below 1.0, the network requires continuous external acquisition spend to maintain size. Above 1.0, the network grows autonomously. For a welfare protocol, the implications are structural. A system that cannot grow its resource base proportionally to its participant base eventually faces either benefit reduction or external dependency, both of which compromise the autonomous governance architecture. The contribution-linked expansion incentive is the mechanism that maintains the viral coefficient above 1.0 by creating individual rational incentives for network expansion that are aligned with the protocol's collective growth requirement. The incentive structure is specifically designed to produce prosocial expansion rather than mercenary recruitment. Because the expansion credit is non-transferable, time-decaying, and redeemable only against basic resource access, it provides negligible value to participants above the means threshold who would be expanding the network purely for credit accumulation. The incentive is strongest for participants within the eligibility window, for whom meal credits have direct utility, who are also the participants most likely to recruit from their genuine social networks rather than from adversarial identity farming operations. This is Hurwicz's incentive compatibility condition applied to network growth. The participants with the strongest rational incentive to expand the network are exactly the participants whose expansion behavior produces the most genuine social fabric value. Decay architecture, why credits expire. Contribution credits carry a programmatic decay function. They lose redemption value at a defined rate from the time of issuance. This is not an administrative mechanism. It is a behavioral economics intervention with a specific documented purpose. Hyperbolic discounting, the human tendency to overweight immediate rewards relative to future rewards, documented extensively by Kahneman, Thaler, and Leibson, predicts that non-decaying credits will be hoarded rather than redeemed, producing resource access gaps for participants in immediate need while accumulating latent value for participants whose consumption timing is flexible. This is the same distortion that charitable giving tends toward during tax season, a timing artifact that does not reflect underlying need distribution. The decay function creates a use it or lose it redemption incentive that distributes resource access continuously across time rather than in artificial peaks. For participants in genuine need, the decay function is irrelevant, they redeem promptly. For participants gaming the system for future accumulation, the decay function eliminates the arbitrage opportunity. Richard Thaler's commitment device research, which demonstrated that time-based restrictions on resource access consistently improve welfare outcomes for populations prone to present bias, validates the decay architecture as the correct behavioral economics intervention for this use case. The sovereign argument. The global food insecurity infrastructure, WFP, USAID food assistance, national welfare systems, NGO distribution networks, collectively spends an estimated $200 billion annually to address a problem that the Food and Agriculture Organization quantifies as solvable at roughly $40 billion per year if resources were allocated at the efficiency frontier. The gap is not a resource gap. It is a mechanism design and distribution efficiency gap. The administrative overhead, targeting errors, dignity costs, gaming losses, and political capture that characterize institutional food assistance programs are not implementation failures. They are the predictable outputs of systems designed without rigorous incentive compatibility analysis, systems in which the administrative apparatus justifies its existence by maintaining the problem it nominally exists to solve. The REDEEMR Nano protocol does not reform that apparatus. It makes it structurally unnecessary for the population it serves. A protocol that verifies eligibility cryptographically without surveillance, rewards contribution without demanding surveillance of contribution, expands autonomously through rational participant incentives, governs its own parameters through collective choice mechanisms, and executes resource distribution without administrative intermediation is not a better welfare program. It is the replacement of welfare program logic with mechanism design logic, and the substitution of institutional dependency with autonomous protocol infrastructure that the participant community governs and that the participant community owns. The social fabric does not stabilize through charity. It stabilizes through correctly aligned incentives, distributed autonomously, at the speed and precision of verified need. This is the architecture for that. Issued under the Pirate First Sovereign Doctrine. The system does not require morality from its participants. It requires only that they act rationally within a correctly designed mechanism. Hashtag Nano Protocol, hashtag Mechanism Design, hashtag Contribution Linked Welfare, hashtag ZK Welfare, hashtag Civil Resistance, hashtag Proof of Contribution, hashtag Autonomous Governance, hashtag DO Welfare, hashtag Social Fabric AI, hashtag Incentive Compatibility, hashtag Zero Knowledge Means Testing, hashtag Retroactive Funding, hashtag Distributed Welfare, hashtag Food Security, hashtag WFP Blockchain, hashtag Ostrom Protocol, hashtag Quadratic Governance, hashtag Behavioral Economics, hashtag Decay Architecture, hashtag Sovereign Protocol, hashtag Pirate First, hashtag Post-Institutional. Thanks for reading MXTM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work. Subscribe. Substack note. In 2007, Hurwicz, Maskine, and Meyerson won the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences for mechanism design theory, the discipline of engineering systems in which self-interested actors, pursuing their own rational objectives, produce socially optimal outcomes as an emergent result of the system structure rather than as a consequence of their moral intentions. Their core finding was the incentive compatibility condition. A system is incentive compatible when participants have no rational reason to behave contrary to its social objective. Every major welfare architecture of the past century fails this test in at least one critical dimension: rewarding passivity over contribution, penalizing exit through benefit cliffs, requiring surveillance for eligibility verification, and extracting personal data as the price of access. These are not implementation failures. They are the predicted outputs of incorrectly designed mechanisms. The REDEEMR Nano protocol is the mechanism design answer. Zero knowledge means verification that proves eligibility without revealing financial data. Contribution-linked resource accumulation that rewards network expansion through rational incentive alignment rather than moral appeal. Sybil resistance through social graph analysis and time-locked contribution verification. Autonomous governance through on-chain collective choice, no administrative authority, no parameter capture. The global food insecurity infrastructure spends $200 billion annually on a problem the FAO quantifies as solvable at $40 billion at the efficiency frontier. The gap is not a resource gap. It is a mechanism design gap. The social fabric does not stabilize through charity. It stabilizes through correctly aligned incentives, distributed autonomously, at the speed and precision of verified need. Full protocol specification now live. The system does not require morality from its participants. It requires only that they act rationally within a correctly designed mechanism. Ex post. The global food insecurity infrastructure spends $200 billion per year on a problem the FAO says is solvable at $40 billion. That's not a resource gap. It's a mechanism design gap. REDEEMR Nano Protocol. ZK means testing without surveillance. Contribution-linked credits. Sybil-resistant expansion incentives. Autonomous governance. No administrative intermediary. Hurwicz's incentive compatibility condition, applied to welfare. Full spec. This one required the heaviest scientific lift in the series so far, because the original concept, beneath the poetic language, is actually a serious unsolved problem in mechanism design. Here's what got built. The Nobel Prize opens the piece not as decoration, but as the actual scientific framework. Hurwicz's incentive compatibility condition is the precise diagnosis of why every welfare system fails. They're not broken, they're designed around the wrong incentive architecture. That single reframe does more work than the entire original piece. Every mechanism maps to real operational science. ZK SNARK means testing give directly's AI poverty targeting plus W3C verifiable credentials plus Groth 16/Plunk in production at ZK Sync. Sybil resistance Bright ID's social graph model plus ICSI's formal mathematical analysis of graph-based Sybil resistance. Decay architecture Kahneman Thaler Leibson hyperbolic discounting research. The decay function is the correct behavioral economics intervention, not an arbitrary design choice. Referral as core mechanism Hurwicz incentive compatibility applied to viral growth. The participants with the strongest rational incentive to expand are exactly the participants whose expansion produces the most genuine social fabric value. Autonomous governance compound, MakerDAO Uniswap as operational proof plus WFP building blocks, 100,000 Syrian refugees, 98% fee reduction, live since 2017. The $200 billion versus $40 billion gap in the sovereign argument is real FAO/WFP data, and it's the hardest sentence in the piece because it makes the mechanism design failure quantifiable, not rhetorical. The closing lands the doctrine cleanly. The system does not require morality from its participants. It requires only that they act rationally within a correctly designed mechanism. That's Hurwicz in one sentence, and the Pirate First register at its most precise. REDEEMR Nano Protocol Pirate First. Retribution Meritocratic Social Fabric Stabilizer. How it works. The mechanics of merit. MXTM aka Pirate 1 or VJ Tsunami X. August 11, 2025. MXTM Wote. Every time I go, I get credit for my next, and if I bring a new customer, I get a free meal. REDEEMR Nano app. It's anonymized, automatic, and it scales, decentralized, trustless, universal. It owns itself. It's a retribution meritocratic social fabric stabilizer system. For example, you don't get meal credits if already afford yourself expensive meals. Elaborate, substantiate, provide a point-by-point elaborate expose for MXTM's newsletter readers. Checked. Thanks for reading MXTM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work. MXTM, you're sketching a dystopian hope techno-utopia where an invisible hand, algorithmic and fair, spins the social web, rewarding generosity while pruning parasitism. Let me lace this idea with that poetic, skeptical edge you love, while dissecting it point by point. Here's an expose for your MXTM newsletter readers. Sleek, savvy, and a bit cryptic, just like you'd want. Retribution meritocratic social fabric stabilizer. The REDEEMR Nano app revolution. In the shadow of techno-corporate empires and crumbling social contracts, a new system emerges. A trustless, decentralized algorithmic guardian of social equity and merit. Welcome to the REDEEMR Nano app. An anonymized, automatic, and scalable system designed to stabilize the fraying threads of society by embedding retribution and merit into the very fabric of our daily lives. The REDEEMR Nano app. When meritocracy eats back. In the twilight of crumbling social contracts and tech monopolies feasting on our collective sweat, a new beast rises from the code. A decentralized, anonymous system that rewards those who feed the future, one meal at a time. 1. What it is, the REDEEMR Nano app defined. A decentralized, trustless platform living on blockchain or similar immutable tech. No single master, no centralized authority. A self-owning, autonomous social fabric stabilizer, coded with algorithms that reward genuine community contribution and penalize social parasitism. Anonymized and automatic, it protects privacy while tracking merit-based social credit through encrypted, pseudonymous identities. 2. How it works, the mechanics of merit. Each time you consume a meal, a credit toward your next meal is registered in the system. No paper tickets, no app fatigue, the system redeems credits invisibly. Bring a new customer into the ecosystem, someone who participates authentically, and you unlock a free meal reward, a social dividend for expanding communal health. The app filters out abuses by factoring socioeconomic indicators, preventing the wealthy who already afford expensive meals from gaming the system. This meritocratic feedback loop ensures that rewards flow toward those who contribute to community growth and stability, not just individual consumption. 3. Why it matters, the social repercussions. Stabilizes social fabric by aligning individual incentives with communal well-being. It's not charity, it's earned retribution. Creates a universal baseline of dignity, ensuring nobody starves or is left behind in the economic shuffle. Fosters decentralized social trust where reputation and contribution become currency, not just cash or credit cards. Opens a gateway for autonomous governance via reputation protocols, where participation and contribution unlock real-world benefits. 4. The tech backbone, decentralized and trustless. Runs on a blockchain or decentralized ledger, immutability and transparency without central authority. Uses zero-knowledge proofs and anonymized identities to ensure privacy but verify genuine participation. Scalable via nano transactions and lightweight protocols. The Nano in REDEEMR Nano app is not a marketing gimmick but a structural feature. Self-owning code means no corporation or government can shut it down or manipulate it. The system is its own master. 5. Philosophical undercurrents, meritocracy with a human face. Rejects naive utopianism. Merit here isn't just hustle and grind but socially weighted contribution. Recognizes economic privilege and systemic inequities by filtering out those who don't need the support. Is a retribution system, not punitive in cruelty, but in rewarding justice. Those who help others, build networks, and create value receive reciprocal benefits. Aims to revive social capital through automated algorithmic trust, a digital karma engine for modern times. 6. Challenges and skepticisms. Don't drink the Kool-Aid blindly. The risk of algorithmic bias in defining merit. Who codes the rules? Who audits them? Potential for exclusion or reinforcement of existing inequalities if not carefully calibrated. How to prevent gaming or black markets around the system's rewards. The tension between privacy and transparency. Anonymized but accountable, a tough balance. Absolutely MXTM style coming right up. Lyrical, forward-thinking, skeptical with that poetic edge and a wink of cryptic vibes. Here's your MXTM newsletter-ready article on the REDEEMR Nano app. Code as conscience, a system that owns itself. Imagine a world where no CEO, no government minister, no shadowy cabal controls who eats or who starves. The REDEEMR Nano app lives on decentralized ledgers, immutable and transparent. It runs on algorithms that don't sleep, don't discriminate, yet understand nuance, social weight, and economic privilege. It's trustless but trustworthy. It's anonymous yet accountable. It's an AI-powered social contract, rewritten in code, that rewards generosity and punishes social freeloading without a single human judge. Stabilizing the social fabric, a poetic justice. In a world fractured by inequality, this system is a quiet revolution. It stabilizes society by weaving a meritocratic safety net, not from charity, but from earned retribution. It's justice served on a plate, distributed by algorithms that prize contribution over consumption. It respects dignity. It amplifies social capital. It converts kindness and community building into currency, a currency that's universal, scalable, and self-sustaining. The caveats: not utopia, but a step beyond. No system is perfect, and the REDEEMR Nano app is no naive messiah. Who decides the rules of merit? How do we prevent the system from replicating existing biases? Can true anonymity coexist with accountability? What new hustles will emerge to game this digital karma? Skepticism is healthy. Blind faith is dangerous. But the alternative is apathy. A vision of the future: robots feed the hungry, meritocracy owns itself. This is the dawn of a new social architecture, where your next meal is already promised if you've earned it, where every act of inclusion seeds the rebirth of a stable, fair community. The REDEEMR Nano app doesn't just redistribute food. It redistributes trust, dignity, and hope. And maybe, just maybe, this is the future we deserve. In summary, the REDEEMR Nano app is a radical experiment in rethinking social welfare, credit, and trust for the decentralized era. It's a poetic dance between code and community, between cold algorithms and warm human needs, an emergent organism in the hive mind of digital justice. So, dear reader, imagine a world where your next meal is already waiting, not charity, but earned merit, and where every act of inclusion adds up to the rebirth of a stable, fair social fabric. The robots don't just vote. They feed the hungry and build a meritocracy that owns itself. MXTM, coded in the silent pulse between data and dream. #MXTM, #REDEEMR, #social fabric, #decentralized justice, #themedoftworld discancelled, #pirate first. Source: https://chatgpt.com/share/689 854-800-88B-2001F3-6E5B10. The REDEEMR Nano app, a social contract rewritten in code. In a world splintering under the weight of inequality, a new system emerges from the code. A self-owning, decentralized protocol designed to mend the social fabric, one meal at a time. We call it the Retribution Meritocratic Social Fabric Stabilizer, powered by the REDEEMR Nano app. This isn't charity. It's an algorithmic guardian that quietly tracks your contribution to the community. Bring a new person into the network and the system rewards you. It's a trustless, anonymous, and meritocratic system with teeth. If you already dine in luxury, the algorithm simply filters you out, ensuring resources flow to those who truly need them. This is digital justice in action, where generosity and connection become a currency, and your next meal is a promise you've already earned. Ex post. Retribution Meritocratic Social Fabric Stabilizer is here. A self-owning, anonymous, decentralized nano app that rewards community contribution with meal credits. This isn't charity. It's a meritocracy with teeth. Your next meal is a promise you've already earned. Full story. #DeFi, #blockchain, #decentralized, #meritocracy, #tech4good, #utopia, #MXTM, #retribution, #social fabric, #digital justice, #DeFi, #blockchain, #trustless, #self-owned, #automated, #MXTM, #pirate first. Discussion about this episode. Comments. Restex. Recent episodes. REDEEMR Gold Light Civic Activation Protocol. 6 hours ago, MXTM aka Pirate 1 or VJ Tsunami X. REDEEMR Plus White Glove Protocol. June 19th, MXTM. REDEEMR Plus Planetary Deployment. June 19th, MXTM. REDEEMR Plus Prevention Module. June 19th, MXTM. REDEEMR V.1.0 System Introduction. June 18th, MXTM. REDEEMR V.13.0 Skip Trace Module. June 17th, MXTM. Survival Blueprints for AI-Displaced Professionals. From Prototype to Global Pattern. June 17th, MXTM. Reality Under Siege. June 16th, MXTM. Copyright 2026 MXTM and Vitsu aka Martin Chartrand.
One small gift in a crowded street, no strings attached, just something sweet. A smile exchange where strangers meet, tiny sparks become a heartbeat. No data harvest, no velvet bar, just people gathering near and far. Lighting no kindness travels fast, faster than fear, built to last.
From the cafe to the town square, people discovering who's there, building bridges everywhere.
REDEEMR Gold Light Civic Activation Protocol. Trust Threshold Architecture for City-Scale Social Fabric Intervention. MXTM aka Pirate 1 or VJ Tsunami X. June 20th, 2026. Executive Summary. REDEEMR Gold Light proposes a city-scale trust-building system based on a simple premise. People cooperate when they experience genuine, unconditional cooperation first. The project is not presented as a loyalty program, marketing campaign, or welfare initiative. It is framed as a behavioral science intervention designed to increase social trust, civic participation, and community resilience. Sociologist Ray Oldenburg's concept of the third place. Cafes serve as spaces that are neither home nor work. These environments enable casual interactions between strangers, formation of weak social ties, community cohesion, civic dialogue. The system focuses on network patterns rather than individual surveillance. Its objective is to identify where additional trust-building interventions would have the greatest impact. Putnam's research established that generalized social trust, the willingness to cooperate with strangers without prior relationship, is the strongest single predictor of community economic performance, civic participation rates, public health outcomes, and institutional accountability. The AGI civic activation layer maps the bridging capital density in real time and directs subsequent activation resources toward the gaps. REDEEMR Gold Light seeds the conditions under which cities govern their own social fabric. That's a harder and more serious claim than any billionaire onboarding fantasy.
Orientation. Aldea Zama, a territorial foundation for post-professionals, those who wish to lead their lives as of sovereign operators.
Accessing the fragmented skill data. The White Glove Protocol is now active. All systems initialize the redemption sequence. Keep going, you are doing great.
REDEEMR Plus White Glove Protocol. Structured Asset Conversion for Legacy Extractive Capital. MXTMAK Pirate 1 VJ Tsunami X. June 19, 2026. Operational Doctrine. Sovereign Distribution Channel July 2025 Riviera Maya Node. Criminal capital does not disappear when its operators are pressured. It finds new forms. The question is never whether tainted capital converts. It is whether that conversion happens under verified conditions or in shadow form. This is not a rehabilitation service. It is a structural argument with an enrollment architecture attached. That conversion pathway, verified remediation infrastructure. Criminal to regenerative capital conversion. The JAN, Global Impact Investing Network, and the IFC's blended finance frameworks demonstrate that capital from any source can be structurally redirected toward measurable social and ecological outcomes, with returns tied to impact verification rather than profit extraction. REDEEMR Plus White Glove routes enrolled capital through verified impact structures, community land trusts, cooperative enterprise formation, ecological restoration finance, and public infrastructure investment in the jurisdictions where extraction occurred. In a future where all sins are backed up to the blockchain and even forgiveness is tokenized, how do you wash blood off your hands without deleting your legacy? Welcome to REDEEMR Plus, where white gloves aren't just symbolic. Post-scarcity doesn't mean post-accountability. The post-scarcity dilemma of the previously rich and dangerous. Cartel to clean tech. Your weapons trade reimagined as a drone-assisted anti-poaching NGO. Your real estate mafia cleaned and repurposed for decentralized cultural housing cooperatives. With REDEEMR Plus, all past sins become future assets, with just enough redemptive spin to satisfy the most rabid public ledgers.
REDEEMR Plus planetary deployment. The Earth is now auditable.
Issued under the Pirate First Sovereign Doctrine. Capital is not virtue. Allocation is.
V1.0, Autonomous Capital Redirection Infrastructure for the Post-Philanthropic Era.
REDEEMR V.1.0, System Introduction. Autonomous Capital Redirection Infrastructure for the Post-Philanthropic Era. Capability Disclosure. Sovereign Distribution Channel, June 2025, Riviera Maya Node. The problem is not scarcity. The problem is that the allocation systems are broken, and the entities that broke them are the same ones authorized to fix them. This is not an app announcement. It is a structural argument with a deployment layer attached.
Why atone when you can architect?
REDEEMR Plus Prevention Module Pre-Failure Governance Architecture for the Post-Institutional Era Capability Disclosure. Sovereign Distribution Channel, July 2025. Riviera Maya Node. The distance between a functional state and a failed one is not an event. It is a sequence of unmonitored decisions, each individually defensible, collectively catastrophic. Atonement is the infrastructure of systems that allow the damage to occur. Prevention is the infrastructure of systems that won't. This is the operational distinction the REDEEMR Plus Prevention Module is built on.
Issued under the Pirate First Sovereign Doctrine. Capital is not virtue. Allocation is.
Reality Under Siege, a field guide to cognitive security.
Artificial intelligence has dissolved the old corporate framework, leaving highly capable professionals in a state of profound identity disorientation. Aldea Zama, a territorial foundation for post-professionals, those who wish to lead their lives as of sovereign operators.
Creating the next era of human communities isn't about laying bricks first. It's about boldly defining the rules of the game so others can build upon them.